In this video, we're going to talk about how Russia weaponizes lies. Russia's engaged in a hybrid war, and there's a military war that's a hot war on top of an economic war, on top of a political war, on top of a informational war. And we're going to talk about the informational war. The latest battle in this informational war is this discussion about Zelensky buying 2 luxury yachts through proxies, and which is an attempt to give Zelensky a black eye and show that he is corrupt and feed that narrative. Now, if you just Google Zelensky yacht, and I'm doing this on Thursday, November 30th, is a Zelensky yacht, you get a number of these kinds of things. Now, I've already done a video about this, but it's terrible. So let's just take a couple of these. So this is the first. Olga Robinson, and her Twitter thread said this, and this is right, claims that Ukrainian President Zelensky has bought 2 yachts through a proxy have been viewed millions of times. That's not true. Both yachts are listed as being for sale on 2 broker websites. Both firms have confirmed to me that they have not been sold. Okay, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to keep taking on a life of its own. And in the video the other day, this is the video that I showed you the other day, is it really lying if you're just repeating someone else's lie? In this video, I was showing people like, here it was started here, and this guy, this one little video here, this guy started talking about it, and then he showed all his evidence, and then it was picked up by this newspaper and that newspaper and the other website and that video, and ultimately it's getting spread by folks like Clayton Morris, and then so it just takes on a life of its own. When I Googled it this morning, in LinkedIn, Zelensky lives in luxury. Top aides acquire $75 million yachts, according to Armstrong Economics. Okay, well, Armstrong Economics talks about economics, but if you dig in a little bit more, Armstrong Economics doesn't like anything about Ukraine. And so here's another article, Ukraine cannot win. How the far right won the Dutch elections. Okay, he's going to keep posting these kind of things. But that's how these lies spread. They also spread through useful idiots like, well, and when I say useful idiots, I'm not making up like calling you're an idiot. I'm saying this is a term that goes back to the Soviet days where somebody who spread Soviet lies because they were just in love with the Soviet system or thought this was a great thing or whatever else. That's a term. I showed this last night in my 3 Big Stories segment. So Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, anyone who votes to fund Ukraine is funding the most corrupt money scheme of any foreign war in our country's history and forcing the American people to pay for it. And then she cited strategicculture.su. And strategicculture.su, the U.S. Treasury Department, I showed this as well. The U.S. Treasury Department says that the Strategic Culture Foundation is an online journal registered in Russia that's directed at the SVR and closely affiliated with the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. SFC is controlled by the SVR's Directorate MS Active Measures and created false and unsubstantiated narratives concerning U.S. officials involved in the 2020 U.S. presidential election. It publishes conspiracy theorists, giving them a broader platform to spread disinformation while trying to obscure the Russian origins of the journal so that the readers may be more likely to trust the sourcing. So that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene was citing as her evidence that Zelensky's corrupt. But she didn't really need more evidence. She already believes it. Now, I don't think that this is fair. I think this is a cheap shot. I don't think you should post this kind of thing. This is on Twitter as well. She doesn't work for Putin. She works for her, and she's using terrible sources because she's already biased a particular direction. In the same way that Armstrong Economics, while they may say something useful about economics somewhere, they're also biased a particular direction. And she's trying to prove her point through very flimsy evidence. It would be better to not even try to prove what she's proving with some kind of evidence and just state, her argument would be stronger if she just made a claim and said, well, I just feel that he's that way. I'm not saying that she should. I think she's entirely wrong. I think that she's not working for Putin, but she is off in left field. Okay, with that being said, this video that I showed, is it really lying or just repeating? I showed all the stuff from the very beginning, from the first guy that created it to the next guy, to the next article, to the next article, to the next article, all the way through the cycle, and explained everything. But then, as I was going through this, vigilant viewers like you sent me, multiple of you sent me that, hey, did you see this about the 2 super yachts and what the Seisman Super Yachts channel did in review? I haven't watched it. We're going to watch it together and see what they have to say. So here we go. This is Seisman Super Yachts. Now, I'm comfortable in doing it this way. Like, somebody in the comments inevitably is going to say, he's lazy. He didn't even watch the video before he showed it. Okay, I mean, so I'm going to watch it in real time and have real reactions with you. But I've already seen Seisman Super Yachts, not this video, but once before, where they were analyzing some of Putin's yachts. This was a number of months ago, and so I know that they have some expertise in this field. I'm really interested to see what they have to say about this. So let's watch it together.
The channel, right, you may or may not be aware of a story that's been circulating online over the last few days, and it's about the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky allegedly buying not 1, but 2 super yachts in October this year. Now, apparently he bought them through proxies, 2 brothers who he's known for a long time, Sergei Shafir and Boris Shafir. There's a picture circulating also of them all together. It looks like an old picture, as Mr. Zelensky looks a lot younger than he does now. Now, the 2 yachts that he's supposed to have bought they're both on the market. One of them is called Motor Yacht Lucky Me and is based in Abu Dhabi. The second vessel is based in Antibes in France, and it's named Motor Yacht Legacy. So the question is, did President Zelensky buy 2 super yachts in October?
Well, so now the question can't be determined by how you're predetermined and feeling about Zelensky. Like, the question, either it happened or it didn't. In the same way that, like, if I pick up this bit of tape, right? If I let go, it drops. It doesn't. It's not determined by what I feel or don't feel about President Zelensky or Russia, right? It either it happened or it didn't happen. So that's what we need to understand. But the way that we're treating this is as if, well, I support Ukraine or I support Russia, and therefore I believe that this is true or that's... No, either it happened. Let's look at the facts. And what these guys did on Redacted was just absolute terrible trash junk journalism. It is like Clayton Morris should know better. He was a journalist at one point, and this is just, it's absolutely terrible. But he's also siding with Russia in the war in Ukraine. He's not at all a fan of Zelensky. And so every little shred of evidence that could possibly work against Zelensky is used, and it's not even like critically evaluated. Okay, let's keep going.
Now we're going to address this subject based on a video that a lot of you sent to us, and it's from a YouTube channel that's called Redacted, and they are supposedly a news channel, and they are the ones that have brought this story. Now, they tell the story in very definite terms. They don't seem to question any of the data or fact check any of the sources that they're quoting from.
And that is correct. The way that they took it, they said, well, see, this is more evidence of corruption. Look at this. I talked about it again extensively on this video here. They were just confirming their own biases. That's all that they were doing. Okay, let's keep going.
There's actually, there was originally like a 2-hour video, which I went through. They've also produced a 12-minute section of the story where they're talking about the yachts. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go and see that whole thing. Obviously, I'm not going to play the whole thing in our video, but if you want to see that, it's in the description.
Well, now Zelensky has bought 2 yachts, according to journalist Shazed Nasir, 2 of Zelensky's closest friends. Now, keep this picture up on your screen. 2 of Zelensky's closest friends purchased 2 yachts, and they're moored in Abu Dhabi and Antibes.
So the person who broke the story and is referred to in the video as a journalist is named Shazad Nazir, according to the YouTube channel. Now, his YouTube channel has less than 100 followers, And it's got one single video on there, and that's the one that we're talking about, the one that says that Zelensky bought these 2 yachts.
Now, what's interesting is how many viewers he had when I did this just the other day. So he had 76 subscribers just a day or two ago, and he had 22,000 views. Today, he has 300,000 views. Wait a minute, something's 300,000 views. Well, it's explosive news if it's real news, but it's not real news.
There's no other content on the channel, nor is there an about page on the channel, which you could set up on a YouTube channel. So there's nowhere in that video that he describes himself as a journalist. I don't know where the chap from the redacted YouTube channel got that information that he is a journalist. We couldn't find anything that states places him as a journalist. He has no other online presence except apparently this one video. So that is a very weak source. There's no evidence he exists outside of this video on YouTube. So I don't know how they were able to confirm that he is a journalist. And like I said, there's no fact checking of the data that they show on screen. So we're going to do that now.
And they're not going to fact check it because they don't want to fact check it. They want to confirm their own biases. And that's what happened with Redacted.
So according to the documents that this journalist has uncovered, the 2 yachts are named Lucky Me and My Legacy. The one you're looking at here on your screen is Lucky Me, and the other one is My Legacy. See in the upper left-hand corner of your screen there. And you can see the purchaser, and you can see the name right there in the second box, and you can see the purchase date and the purchase price.
All right, so you've just seen a clip where he's referring to these forms that seem to show the purchase of these 2 yachts. The evidence that's on screen there is taken from that single video from Shahzad Nazir's YouTube channel. Now, we've been unable to find the actual documents online anywhere, so we've done what they've done, and we've taken copies from the video on YouTube, and we're going to show them here. Now, what is this form? Before we dive into the form, you need to understand what this is. It's actually a contract for the sale of a vessel known as a Memorandum of Agreement, or an MOA. And it's by the Mediterranean Yacht Brokers Association, also known as the MYBA. So who is the MYBA? This is according to their website, MYBA is the creator of the industry's most respected and widely used contracts, which is what we're looking at. The MYBA Sales and Purchase Agreement, or MOA, and the MYBA Charter Agreement, which together with their associated documents are regularly updated as regulations and the global markets change. It's very important that I point that out, regularly updated. It's going to come up in a minute.
Now, I haven't seen this video yet, but I was just thinking as he was talking, like, this is why you listen to experts and you get, you triangulate on facts and defer to some expertise, because this looks pretty convincing to most of us, right? But I'm sure that with his eye, with what he does with 256,000 subscribers, when he does nothing but talk about yachts, he will see things that we might not see. So if you're interested in yachts, sign up for his channel. But let's hear what he has to say.
On screen here, we're going to be looking at the 2 sets of documents that they are referring to, these MOAs. Now, on the left-hand side of the page, you've got 1 of 8. If you look in the top left-hand corner, you can see it clearly states 1 of 8. The middle page says 2 of 8, and the one on the right says 8 of 8. So it's not a full document, but we've got these 3 documents to work from. So now remember, these forms are supposedly drawn up by different brokerages, one being Burgess Yachts, the other one being Benmar Yachts. They're 2 separate brokerages, right? So they are selling those yachts, 2 different companies. All right, so let's look at these forms. Certain data is redacted and yet other is not, such as the Burgess Yachts is listed on there, right? The public address has been removed, which is odd. Why would you need to remove a public address? Okay. If we look at the initials on both forms, so each form from different brokerages is signed by a different person, right? Which is allegedly the buyer's initials. And you can see that the letter S, if we zoom in, the letter S on both initials looks like it's the same handwriting. That is, it's arguable, I suppose, but it does appear to be written by the same person, although it's meant to be 2 different people, right? Brothers, but still 2 different people. There's other information on there that looks a bit odd, like the flag state data looks to have been added afterwards. It's in a strange position. It says Cayman Islands, and then the bit underneath is redacted. What would be redacted from there? That's what it would say, Cayman Islands. So there's no other data that needs to be redacted unless they've redacted a word already from the form, that, because it's an old form, and they've just added Cayman Islands in to make it look more believable. Anyway, regardless of any of that, it's all moot anyway, because we contacted the MYBA and they confirmed to us that's the form. They wrote this form, and this is what they said. They said the forms appear to be an old version predating 2012 that is no longer endorsed by MYBA. Remember we said earlier that they regularly update these forms as the regulations change. So the form predates 2012 and they haven't been used in, 11, 12 years. Now the forms are meant to have been signed in October this year. That's just last month, but they're over 11 years old. Now they were able to examine the forms because of
okay, I'm thinking of about a couple things right here. So I did this other video about Alina Zelensky when Zelensky and his wife Alina came to New York. There was this big scandal because there was this thing about, there was another propaganda scheme where she came to Cartier and bought thousands of dollars of jewelry, while she was visiting New York and DC. And she treated an employee rudely and got the employee fired. Well, it was all made up. And I did an entire video about it. The employee, or the fake employee, created a receipt, and the receipt showed that, see, she bought this. It was a day after she had left New York that the receipt was created for. Like, these guys are just bad at, you have one job in creating propaganda, just you're just bad at it. Okay, so the wrong form here, same kind of thing. It strikes me like when a student cheats or doesn't read the book and then tries to write a paper on it, they read about it, but they don't. There's discordant notes you can hear, or when they use AI to try to cheat, their writing doesn't sound like them anymore. And if I'm reading their previous papers and then I'm reading this paper, I'm like, you didn't write that. It's the same thing. Like a professor can catch plagiarism a lot just by I know how you sound as a baseline. And then I hear you say something else, and I'm like, that person didn't write this because this is at a different level of speech. It's that kind of thing that he's bringing out here.
Obviously, we sent them copies, and they came back with further information. They said the MYBA Memorandum of Agreements, which is what we're looking at, this is a standard form, and whether current or previous versions, as in this case, referring to the fact that it's an old version predating 2012, it's usually only modified by an addendum. So what does that mean? It means that if anyone needs to make a change to this contract, because this is a contract, then they will add a page with an addendum on. They won't change the form itself, right? There's actually data that runs up the side of the paper that says if there's any changes to this form, it can impact its validity. The spokesperson from MYBA goes on to say that, however, the pages that we have seen have several sections missing compared to that particular version, old version, of the MYBA Memorandum of Agreement. There are boxes and the signature lines missing from pages 1 and 8, and you can see, for example, that the stakeholder box.
Okay, propagandist, wherever you are, you got one job. One job. You're not. You should be fired.
Which appears on the second page, which is the page in the middle, but the stakeholder signature line has been removed on page 8, which is the page on the right. So below there, I believe there should be a section there that says stakeholder signature. It's completely missing, right? Now that's strange enough in itself that they would make a modification like that, but the spokesperson goes on to say, we note that these modifications are identical on both forms, although they would have been drawn up separately by 2 different brokerage companies, right? You've got Benmar and Burgess. So how would they make the exact same changes to a form, which they're not even supposed to do, right? They're supposed to add it in an addendum. So, and the spokesperson says that is a strange coincidence. So it appears that the forms have been doctored and are not legitimate.
Of course
Now,
they're
if these
not.
yachts,
I mean, of course they're not. Like the basic premise that Zelensky is squandering millions of dollars having his surrogates buy these two super yachts because he's a corrupt guy, right? I mean, so yeah, it's been doctored because it's faked. Like if he had 75 million, he'd be buying some bombs to go with that to go bomb Russia.
have been sold, then it's easily confirmed by the brokers selling them. So we contacted both brokers and asked if the yachts were still for sale. We got a reply back from Gerdes Yachts. The Gerdes Yachts spokesperson confirmed to us that Motor Yacht Legacy, reported to be one of the yachts sold, has not been sold and is still very much for sale.
This to me is what it feels like when I read that student paper and I'm like, there's bad grammar, and then there's something that's so elevated, I'm like, this person didn't write it, and I cut and paste that line, and I pop it into Google, and I see, bam, it shows up onto some website somewhere, or it shows up as a line from an article somewhere that has just been lifted and put in. I mean, that's kind of what this feels like to me.
And you can find, if you want to view the advert for that yacht, you can find it in the description of this video. Anyway, we had a reply back from Benmar.
We got to go do that. The description of the video, there's the advertisement for the yacht, the original, the Burgess advertisement, the Benmar advertisement. Let's go look at that real quick. I'm so curious. Yep, there's the advertisement. It's still there. Hasn't been taken down. There. Wow, that's just amazing. That's where they got the footage from, because they took it from the advertisement. So there's footage in the original video of all this kind of like interior, as they're talking about how the luxury of the yacht itself and that kind of thing. That's where they took it from. Of course. Okay. Well, how about that?
Yachting consultancy. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But anyway, they said Motor Yacht Lucky Me is also still for sale. Here's the statement. They said there are statements going around that Benmar sold the Motor Yacht Lucky Me. These statements are totally wrong and false. We can confirm that the yacht has not been sold and is still for sale with Benmar as the exclusive listing company. You'll also find the link in the description for that yacht listing. So let's recap on what we've learned here. The data in the video on the Redacted YouTube channel, when he suggests that it is a journalist, that's come from a YouTuber with one video on his channel, no information about him. We can't find any information about this person online. I don't know where he got the information from that he's a journalist, because he doesn't even state it in the video that he's a journalist, and there's no reference to him being a journalist anywhere. The forms shown have discrepancies as talked about. The discrepancies are on both forms, even though two separate companies would have drawn those contracts up. The forms predate 2012 versions of that form, and are not used. They're 12 years out of date, so they wouldn't have been used for years. And both yachts are still listed for sale. All right, so let us know what you think.
This guy did a great job. I give him props for having done his homework, contacting the original sources, the owners, looking at the document sources. That's awesome. And while he did a great job here, if you Google Zelensky yacht, you're going to see this carried in other places. And here's the Daily Post Nigeria, Sharif Brothers yacht purchase, and right? I mean, so it's going to spread and take on a life of its own. All right. Thank you to my eagle-eyed viewers who saw that, flagged it. A number of you sent that video to me, and I appreciate that. Tell me what you think now. After you've seen all that, did that help you? Now, let me couple that with something else. So yesterday I talked about this particular video of just like trolling the trollers. Like, this is how Russian trollers do this. I think if you're going to spend any time doing anything along these lines, I wouldn't even worry about doing like trolling trollers. So I would go to Redacted. In fact, let's do this. I'd go to Redacted and find this, did President Zelensky just buy 2 super yachts? And I would click on it and I would say, E. Seisman Super Yachts just debunked your entire video. I would like to hear your explanation of this video. I can't provide the link, but the title is, and click comment. So that's what I just did, and I would urge you to do the same thing and see if they actually have the honesty and integrity to actually reply to it and say, you know what, there's egg on my face. I don't think that they will, but you know, if a few thousand people do that, maybe they'll get a hint that people are paying attention to what they're saying. All right, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.